Hello everybody, and welcome to another Dwarf Fortress idea. In this video, we're going to be covering another tricky subject, teaching your dwarves to swim, because it usually involves involuntary waterboarding. But in this video, I hope to be able to do that in a bit more of an ethical fashion, other than the classic lock everybody in a room and pump a bunch of water in and wait until the skills go up. In order to do this, we're going to require some minecarts. We're also going to need some mechanisms. We're going to need a little bit of rope, and we're going to need a trench and some water. Once you're constructing your minecart out of wood, we're going to start digging the trench. Now the trench, by the time it's finished, is going to be a 3-wide little thingy. But what we're initially going to do is dig 2 wide, and then remove the ramps except for the one at the very end. And then we're going to remove the ramp at the front. And then we're going to go around the edges and dig it a little bit wider, as well as a little spout for water to get in. Once all this is constructed, we're then going to put a piece of flooring over top, as well as a piece of wall in the middle. This is going to stop the minecart from going places we don't want it to. Then the dwarves are going to keep running around and building stuff, and we're going to throw a windmill on the left side. Once you have all of that prepped up, we're going to start laying down our track. So we're going to place 2 minecart track pieces right before the wall piece that we constructed. Then underneath, we're going to lay minecart track all the way to the end and up the ramp. Now, that initial 2 pieces are actually going to cause me a problem a little later in the video, and I'll explain why once I get there. But what we're going to do is we're going to place ourselves a track stop at the end of the track. And then at the other end, on the far side, we're going to place ourselves a second track stop. The next thing we are going to do is we're going to place our gear mechanisms in, because we can't actually place our track rollers until the gear mechanisms are in place, because they need to be supported by something. So these 2 mechanisms are going to be stacked one on top of each other so that they connect to the windmill, thus transferring power to the track rollers. Then we're going to put a medium power track roller down on the bottom and go all the way across right up onto the upwards going ramp. Once this is constructed, we can build the minecart route itself. This is going to be quite simple. Simply go north when empty of items, and we want the dwarf to ride the minecart. So, dwarf, go north, ride minecart. Very simple. Then we're going to assign the minecart to the track itself, and it's going to be dragged over, and we're going to give this a test run. As you can see, the dwarf is actually falling out of the minecart as they go down. This is something I haven't experienced before with this setup, which was quite perplexing when I was setting the whole thing up. So I figured I would let the water in and see if this problem persisted, which it did. So the way I ended up fixing this problem was I simply removed 1 piece of track from the very front and then added in a downward sloping ramp. This still allows the same effect to take place without the problem. Now, which also leads me to believe that I could probably do this setup without the wall piece there, but I'm just going to leave it there for good measure, because it does prevent possible derailments. Whenever a dwarf is immersed completely in water, especially when they have the drowning tag, they are training swimming. As they slide along the bottom of this setup with the minecart, they're actually gaining swimming levels. And you may notice that up at the end here we have this problem. The minecart is staying full of water. So in order to remedy this final issue, what I did was I dug a little trench next to it and set the minecart stop here to dump to the right, so that instead of the water staying in the minecart, it just dumps back into the creek. Now, whenever a dwarf is completely submersed in water, they're training swimming. So this entire setup, dwarf jump into minecart, dwarf slide along the bottom, dwarf get out of minecart at the end, is training swimming. And to me, this is kind of an ethical way of just slowly training your entire fortress in swimming. You could probably set up a row of these and make kind of like a little swimming pool. Like, think of it like swimming lengths in real life, but for dwarves, in minecarts, underwater, which is kind of awesome and extremely dwarfy. This is a very simple setup, very easy to build, and doesn't really require a lot of resources to put together. Any fortress with access to water can probably build one of these. Of course, you could also use engraved minecart tracks down at the bottom. You can make them out of iron, various types of ropes and chains. And as far as power goes, you can either, of course, use windmills like this if you're above ground, or if you're below ground, you could use water wheels. In fact, you could probably build one of these into a fully automated dwarven reactor setup underground if you wanted to, making it fully self-contained. To me, this is just a really easy, quick way of training some of your dwarves how to swim without actually having to torture them. And also, they seem to enjoy it, and then they'll just simply cancel the job when they're tired and want to do something else and go get a drink. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you found this helpful, let me know. If you're going to use this, let me know. If you've used this before or have a different strategy, I'd also love to hear that as well. Let me know down in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.